recognized to ask a question, or?
Yeah, you can do that, or just, I'll keep a good close watch too if it doesn't work right away, and wave at me, and I'll make sure I call on you, okay?
Thank you.
Sure. There, Kathy's here. Kathy, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Great.
Sorry I'm late, but I just got home from work.
That's okay. Well, we have a quorum, and it's after 4:15, so I'm going to start. You ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm calling this Transit Commission meeting to order on Thursday, January 20th. It's about 4:16, and we have a quorum present with myself in chambers, and we have Alder Peckham, we have Jen Bizzotto, and Kathy Zorn as members on WebEx. We will start with number 2, approval of minutes from the October 21st, 2021 meeting. They are in your packet. Everybody has them. Any additions, questions, or I'll take a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Bizzotto. Do I have a second?
Second by Kathy.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no questions, all in favor say aye.
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 And I have all of the quorum did say aye. I guess I'll do roll call after this, thinking that we have half and half, so we make sure that everybody knows who's voting what. Number 3, update on transit development, TDP, RLS, and associates. Who's taking that, Greg?
We have Laura Brown
Oh,
on WebEx.
okay. Laura, go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I have a presentation. I'm going to try to share it. And if it doesn't work, then, oh well. Let's see. I think it's going to work. Okay. Can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Laura Brown from RLS and Associates. I'm part of the consulting team that's working with Metro Ride and with the MPO on this not coordinated, but just a transportation development plan. So I'm here to give you an update on the progress of the plan. We started back in the fall of last year, so we're making good headway, and I have a few updates just to remind you. I think you all have been involved in these meetings, but just in case, excuse me, as a reminder, the purpose of the plan is to evaluate the service effectiveness, so to look at Metro Ride services from a lot of different angles, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, and to understand community transportation in the Wausau region. So, how do people move around? What role does transit play in the lives of those who are using it, as well as other organizations and businesses in the area? And then to put all those pieces together into transit service improvements and recommendations. So we are going to be providing a report this week that provides this information to Metro Ride and to our steering committee, basically, that is a summary of existing services, basically, and conditions, and also some of the results of feedback we received from an onboard passenger survey that was conducted, as well as several one-on-one interviews we did with stakeholders. We had public meeting that many of you attended, and also some focus group meetings which took place, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. What's not included in that tech memo, but will be included later, is a public survey, which is almost ready. It's going to go to a committee for a review early next week. I imagine that's going to be the final review, and then we'll be able to release a public survey that will be an opportunity to get input from the general public in other ways. So we've had a public meeting, and we've talked to stakeholders in various ways, and we've also talked to riders in doing the passenger survey. So this is another way to reach more people, get it out in different ways, and get input into their perception of public transit, their use of it now and what they'd like to see in the future. So if you're looking at a computer and you see the slides, there's just a snapshot here of what our passenger survey looked like. So we did do an onboard passenger survey. I think you may have received an update the last time on that, but we ended up getting 253 responses to that survey. And I have a few slides to share with you from this. There were more questions than this, but just some highlights. One of the things we asked them is, you know, if service were to be expanded, what's your most desired focus? What would you like to see expanded in terms of Metro Ride service? And the most popular answer was service to neighboring communities. And that was from the student. We had a student survey that asked the same question in this case as the adult survey, so we can split up. We know who said what, but so on the chart here, you see two different bars, one for the adults and one for the students. But even if you add them all together, that was the #1 request. From the adult passengers, the second most common request was to add Saturday service, and the third was evening service. And students were a little bit different. They wanted evening over Saturday, but it was pretty close. And then Sunday service was the next most popular response. We asked passengers, how often do you need to travel outside of Wausau? So, you know, do you need to, for important appointments? So we know, of course, that the fixed route transit service and the ADA paratransit is within the city of Wausau. And so we asked the current riders how often they need to go outside the area. And the response was mostly, they said less than once a month. And this again was need to go, like need a medical appointment, something that you absolutely really need to do. So we know a lot of things can be done within the city limits, but there are times when they need to go outside of the city to finish their appointments or go to necessary errands, things like that. We asked questions also about the average time to get to a bus stop, and I have that data. There were other questions too about how do you usually get to your bus stop? You know, do you walk? Do you ride a bicycle? That kind of thing. So there were several ways we looked at how people get to the bus when they're riding it, the current passengers, and how long it takes to get there. Most of the routes, so this one shows minutes up the side, and then across the bottom it shows the routes. There is an outlier here on B, the student response, there was really only one person who said 25 minutes on Route B. So I think that could be an outlier compared to the other survey, the other routes. Most people, it was right around 10 minutes, really it was right around 5 minutes. A few then were up around 10 minutes it takes to get to the bus stop that they use from their home. And some were well under 5 minutes. So when we get we're working on this chapter, and that's part of the deliverable we're giving this week. And it will have some additional explanation about these charts, but I wanted to just, you know, since we're here today, I wanted to give you a little glimpse into some of the data that we received from the passenger survey. We also asked about transfers and how often you take more than one bus to get on a one-way trip. So from home to wherever you're going on your trip, how often how many people were going to take more than one bus to get there that day? So we asked them about the day they were riding. For the adults, on most routes, passengers did have to transfer and take 2 buses. So probably they're going to the downtown transfer center and getting their second bus there to finish their trip. And for students, those who were riding the X routes, most of them did not have to transfer. But there were some students that, when we were doing the survey, happened to be riding on the other routes, the regular lettered routes. And for those students, there were only a few, but for those students, they usually did have to transfer downtown to complete their one-way trip. Some other just general demographics about our survey respondents are here. Most of the respondents were Caucasian or white race. Most of them had no vehicle at home, so they did not have access to a vehicle. And most of the respondents, when we only asked the adult respondents about their vehicle at home, and we only asked, also only the adults were asked about household income. And the responses are that the most common response was less than $10,000 is the annual household income. The second one was 10,000 to 15,000. And then the third most common was actually 20 to 25,000. So there were no respondents who indicated more than $100,000 for their household income in the year. So that tells us kind of, it helps us to understand how much of an impact basically public transit, the cost of the passenger fare, has on their personal budgets. We don't know exactly what their household income is or what their monthly budget is, but we kind of get an idea then of the impact that passenger fares do have on their personal budget. We also understand that a lot of the individuals who completed the survey are probably transit dependent unless they're other than walking, because they have no vehicles at home. Public transit is their choice, and they use it probably for just about every purpose, every trip purpose, other than when they're walking or biking or riding with friends and things like that. Now we did also ask about people using other modes of transportation like taxis. So that data will be included. It was relatively low from the survey participants, relatively low number of folks using taxis and Ubers and Lyfts, but some were doing so. I'll go ahead and continue. I just have a few more slides and then we can go back and ask questions if that's okay. If you have any. As you know, we also, as part of our outreach, conducted public meetings, and we've also been meeting periodically with council and MPO meetings, as well as with you all, to keep you updated on the progress and the activities. And there is now a project oversight committee that started up in December, and it will be meeting at regular intervals as well, and reviewing, not only reviewing, the progress of the project, but providing input into the next steps in the activities. Back in December, we also held focus groups. I think we talked about this at the last, I wasn't at your last committee meeting, that may have come up, but so we were planning it back then. Now we have had those meetings. We had 3 focus groups. They were small, rather small groups, because the idea was to meet with just a handful of folks so we could have a lengthy discussion over the topics that each of those groups have in common. So while we are doing the broad outreach through surveys and public meetings and things like that, this was really a really small focused interest group kind of discussion. The topics at the focus groups were, what are the participants' impressions of current Metro ride services? What do they value among the current services? What are the most important needs for transit in the community, and what are the barriers to change? And all in all, we had 13 participants representing local businesses, the school districts, human service agencies, and some community residents. Quick highlights from the focus group feedback for today. So it was all very positive, I'll say. It's not on the slide here, but everyone had very supportive feedback in terms of the value of public transit in this community and the important service that it provides for so many people. And so with that, we talked about what could be done to improve it, to make it better and to better serve the communities. The participants suggested expanding service, of course, just like we've received that input from others as well. So they suggested also considering to expand into Rib Mountain, Schofield, Rothschild, and Weston. They indicated the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, is an essential stop in Rib Mountain, as well as the other, shopping areas and those sorts of destinations. And there are some medical facilities as well, but they wanted to point out sometimes people don't think of DMV as being an important stop, but it would be. Green Heck and Crystal Finishing were cited as employers facing hiring demands. We did discuss other employers. Of course, I think just about everyone is facing that issue right now. Yeah, so, but those did come up as big ones. They talked about expanding the routes or the hours to better support getting people to shift work to the industrial park. There's a typo, it should be park, and grocery stores. So not just expanding out into other communities, but also expanding the hours and the routes even within the city there to help people get to where they need to go when they need to go there. Expanding later into the evenings and adding Saturday service came up a lot. There are a lot of summer events. There's also movies and activities and shops and restaurants, even just within the current service area or close to the current service area that that could be accessed if the hours were expanded and Saturday service was added. There was a discussion about different vehicles, so considering smaller vehicles, and also discussions about technology, such as using scannable passes, having an option such as that's easy, that someone can just have a pass that could be scanned when they get on the vehicle, and it maybe keeps that data. For some people, that would be a good option, maybe not everyone. And also, just convenience of the bus and user friendliness, and having something like buses that offer Wi-Fi so that a passenger can use it while they're riding and during their commute. One of the focus group participants talked about how he in Wausau rode the bus for a while and how he really just enjoyed that downtime between work and home to just sit there and chill and maybe look at his phone or whatever it might be, and just reinforcing that benefit of transit with amenities like technology advancements. And then my last slide here shows some next steps. As I said, the public survey is almost ready. You'll be seeing it very, very, very soon. The draft report, the first draft report, which is really a lot of background information, is coming out this week to just for review. It won't be ready for the public yet. And then there's an oversight committee meeting coming up. The draft 2 report will be then January 28th. So that one will have hopefully some more detailed potential service change recommendations. And then for the rest of the year, we're going to analyze those recommendations, refine them, just work on developing and hopefully getting closer and closer to building up local support for implementing and finding funding for any kinds of expansion that you all decide you want to move forward with. And then the whole process will wrap up. Final recommendations are aimed for July, but then we'll be here to assist throughout August. So I know that's kind of quick, and I think there were some questions popping up. Would you like me to address questions?
Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead,
Laura?
Kathy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question. How are you going to get this out to the general public? Are you doing city pages, the Daily Herald, newsletters, or I'd like to know how you're going to get that out when
The
the
public
survey's
survey?
ready. Yeah.
Um, y- yes to everything. So, I think we would like, I'm open to anybody's input, but yes, city pages and newspaper,
Wausau pilot
announcements.
review.
Yes, the pilot review, yep.
Okay, my other question is, once the survey's out, will we as individuals be able to pass that along, like, to different organizations
Yes.
so they can put it on their website?
Yes, we will have a little, we'll have a couple different things. So we'll do it as many ways as we can. We can have a link that can be emailed. We also make a little flyer with a QR code and a link that's PDF'd, and you guys can share it with anybody. We can have it, some of it printed, but you can email share it with anybody, take it to different places, post it up in public spaces if it's allowed, hang it on the buses, wherever, wherever. And the more input we have, the more help we have from everybody to try and get that survey out, the better it's going to be. So we'll send it to all the stakeholders we know and come across. And if you all send it as well, then I think that would be helpful. Nothing but helpful, yeah.
And my other question is it accessible for someone that's blind and visually impaired? Can they enlarge the font to read the survey?
Yes, yes, we made it so that it could be enlarged font, and we could also send large print out if somebody wants one in the mail or something. We could send a large print if email doesn't work. The online version is on SurveyMonkey, which it does have accessibility features, and there is one image that I think is going to end up being in it, which we have included captions to explain the image for anyone who might not be able to see it. It's a route map, basically.
Wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Thanks
Good.
for all the work you've done.
Thank you too, Kathy. I appreciate all of your time, everybody's time and input.
Any further questions? I'm sure we're going to hear more as you saw the next steps. This is a process, and we knew going in it's a process, but we're getting a lot of good information from our readers and our writers and both students and adults. We're going to be reaching out to businesses and things like that. So I'm really excited to see how this all comes out.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Me too.
Okay.
Appreciate everyone's input.
Thank you, Laura. Oh, just a second. I have Alder Peckham has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I see Alder Ryan has sent a number of messages to the group. Maybe she could be recognized and just ask
I don't know.
question.
I would, yes, I talked to Greg here. She is. I don't know where she is. If she would like to speak, she certainly will be recognized. But I don't believe that we can go through chat for transparency purposes. So, Alder Ryan, are you on a phone or what's going on? Are you on?
I am online.
Okay, I can hear you. Okay, I can't.
WebEx would not recognize me as my email address, so I had to come in as a guest.
Okay, we can see your name now, so would you like to ask some questions?
Well, yeah, I had requested in the previous meetings to send me your presentations ahead of time, and I did not receive that in my packet. And then again, your presentations for some of these windows are not readable in the size that you have, the small size. And what are you doing about looking at solar shelters? Are you looking at that to be considered at each spot? What about shoveling snow? Is that something that in other metro areas, is that being done? Is that something the city should be doing?
Thank you for your questions. I apologize about not being able to see the presentation. I will be happy. I can make sure you get a copy if you'd like. in terms of the other question, in terms of solar panels at the stops and snow removal and those sorts of very important issues, in terms of the transportation development plan, what we get into for the recommendations. So that's coming. That's where we are right now, right? We're getting into that point of making recommendations. So our primary focus is on looking at how Metro Ride can expand its services and improve its services. We have heard these concerns. So in our recommendations, when we start talking about how much it costs to do each aspect of an improvement, improvements to the bus stops will be included in that assessment, and a variety of other things. How to add, what kind of fare box technology, maybe things like that aren't necessarily service on the road, like where the buses are going, but there's service in terms of how you interact with the bus system. So all of those things will be included in service recommendations and alternatives, along with price considerations, and that'll be things for the steering committee to consider.
Anything further, Alder Ryan? I guess not. Does anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, we'll move on. Thank you again, Laura.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Okay.
I didn't finish talking, Laura.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Alder Ryan, I did ask, and we waited a long time. I don't know where you were. So if you have
I
other...
am here. It muted me, and I unmuted it and started talking, and then cut me off.
Oh, well,
So
okay.
I think you need to include the other information.
We lost you.
Alder Ryan, if you can hear us, you are muted again. Alder Ryan, you still are muted. I don't know. Nothing is muted on our end. Laura, can I ask you a question? If Alder Ryan has questions, could she email them to you personally?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think that's what we'll do, because I don't want to hold up the meeting right now. So, Alder Ryan, we can get Laura's email, and you can ask those questions that you need. We don't know what the technical difficulty is. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to number 3, update on transit development, the TDP. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm that wrong. We're not doing that again. Approval of update of Public Transit Agency Safety Plan, PTASP. Thank you.
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Included in your packet is an update to our Public Transit Agency Safety Plan. The plan is a federal requirement, and it must be updated annually and approved by the governing body, which is this body. The plan follows a safety management system framework, which uses safety data to support management decisions. It improves the commitment of transit leaders to safety, and it fosters a culture of safety and promotes awareness and responsiveness to safety risk. I don't know how much detail in the plan you would like me to go through, but let me just kind of tick off the various sections. In this plan, we set safety targets, and we based those targets on past performance, the last 5 years' data, the number of safety incidents, for instance. And then based on that information, we set safety targets. And we must share those with the Wisconsin DOT and also with the Wausau MPO. The plan includes employee involvement in various ways, communication, establishing committees, and that sort of thing. The plan includes a risk assessment and also a security assessment. Those are found at the end of the document. The plan will eventually include safety risk mitigation. So as a committee, when we identify the various risks, we will find ways to address those and mitigate them. The plan includes a safety assurance, which is our commitment to safety. It details how we promote safety to our employees. And then it identifies roles and responsibilities of my staff in dealing with the areas of safety and security. In terms of progress in 2021, this remains a real work in progress. For those of you who are not aware, we have had significant staff changeover over the course of the last year. In fact, I am the only one who started the year and ended the year in the same position. So it has really been difficult to kind of get our arms around the various programs and pull them together and create data points given the staff changeover. Our focus in 2021 was to gather safety data and organize it so that we can track it. And so we've acquired database software. We're working on setting up that database. But we've really struggled with staff as they've moved in or moved out. They're getting their arms around how those programs work, and it's very difficult, to kind of modernize them and change them when we're still becoming familiar with those areas. So anyway, we're not where I think we should be or where I would like to be. And as I said, it remains a work in progress. Over the course of this year, 2022, we hope to get employees more involved. We'd like to form a safety committee. We really wanted to get the data part of it up and running first, and we've just not gotten past that. So eventually we'll get the employees involved, and this will become a more functional plan. So that's the plan. As I said, this document needs to be approved by the governing body, and that is the Transit Commission. And so it is now before you. Do you have any questions?
Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, thank you. I'm puzzled by your last remark there, Greg. The plan says that there's a safety committee in place, but you just said we don't have one.
We've established what we believe should be the makeup of the committee. It is not, we have not met, we've really not taken that on fully at this point.
Okay. And then in the plan itself, there's it was on page 15 of my packet, but I don't know what page it is on the safety plan document. Toward the bottom of the page, there's a rectangle with a bunch of good numbers that actually apply to, Wausau. And it says the number of miles traveled was 394,000, and that there were no fatalities and no injuries. And I'm thinking, boy, this is great. This is sterling. And then it got to safety incidents, and I think it was 27 or something like that.
Correct.
Is that like a slip and fall, or somebody cuts their finger, or what kind of stuff falls into that category?
Well, the safety events are fairly narrowly defined. Actually, it's the number of accidents we're reporting to Transit Mutual Insurance in total.
Vehicle accidents?
Yes, vehicle accidents.
Okay, I got it. Very good.
Any other questions or concerns?
I was going to ask, assuming that the safety committee existed, its level of activity, but you're not going to know until you actually get one set up and it's working under the direction of the public safety chief, and you start getting a flow of reports or incidents, right?
Well, we've had some initial discussion. We have a monthly labor management meeting, and we've had some initial discussion about what the plan is and what we envision. And part of the committee role could be evaluation of accidents, for instance. Well, the union wants to reserve the right to grieve, discipline on accidents, and so they are very, very hesitant to be involved in that function. It's not the first time we've tried to get a review committee off the ground, and we've not been successful in the past. And it's really also one of the reasons why we've been kind of cautious in forming the committee again. So, again, it's a work in progress.
Maybe the review committee would have to involve people outside of Metro, right?
Well, one of the initiatives of this effort is to get employees involved. And what they recommend is an employee committee. Now, that doesn't preclude outside individuals, but that certainly could be an option, I suppose. I'd have to look into that, I guess.
Thanks.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Greg, this is Kathy. I just have a question. If outside agency would be amongst the bus drivers, would that help? So it's not just the bus drivers, and are the bus drivers concerned about morale and reporting the accident or between each other? Is that why they're hesitant?
I think there's whenever we evaluate an accident, we currently evaluate them for preventiveness. So if it's a preventive accident, then there may be some sort of corrective action taken. If that is the case, the union may become involved in challenging that corrective action. And so their hesitancy has to do with being involved in helping us, quote, rate the accident, and then also taking action to oppose whatever action we take. And so in their minds, they perceive that as a conflict, and I understand that. But I think we have to work through those issues, and we may end up not having accident review as part of the function of this committee. It may be identifying risk and finding ways that we can work through that. But it may not involve accident review.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to accept this plan.
I would move to accept the report.
Thank you. We have a motion by Peckham,
Second by Kathy.
second by Kathy Zorn. Okay. I will do roll call. Alder Peckham,
Aye.
Ms. Bizzuto,
Aye.
and Ms. Zorn.
Aye.
Alder Ryan, are you with us? And she is mute. I don't know what's going on. I'm aye as well, so that passes. Okay, we are on to discussion and possible action on service request, Chalk Fest and / Wings Over Wausau. If you'll notice, the next three are talking about service requests. These are three new requests that came in. I think in talking about this, I would like to kind of talk about an overview of these requests before we go on to specific requests. I think if I'm asking the members to kind of think back to, was it last fall? I can't even remember. this pandemic has got me. When we were talking about adding these, and it was kind of a discussion we all had because of staffing concerns. The pandemic was in there, but the staffing concerns with these extra requests, because our staffing, as everyone knows, is down significantly. And I know that people that aren't on here don't have this, but I just will read about a current circumstance with the special event service requests. We have about 27% of driver positions are vacant, and another full-time position will be vacated due to retirement in April. We are forcing drivers to work overtime daily and limiting off time on a regular basis. We eliminated a second bus on several routes because we don't have enough drivers to drive them. Employee morale has diminished due to our ongoing staffing problems. Even though we did this, the shuttle service for Monk Festival and Outrageous were included in the operating budget. And that budget was completed before the Rings Over Wausau and the Bull Falls Blues Fest. It is not a mutual, budget neutral endeavor. So I guess I really would like to speak to all of these events at the beginning about the staffing problems we're having as we think about these requests. And I don't want to pick and choose requests either. I think that we need to kind of, and it's just my personal feeling, we need to look at this. Is this something that we can do with our staffing issue currently? And I'd like to hear from some members of what their thoughts are.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I can be recognized or anything like that. I'm Allie from Wausau Events. I am on the call, just in case you guys did want to hear anything from us about the request. I just wanted to throw that out there, so, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Any member would like to speak on this matter about the staffing? Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, I guess we need to know more about the extent of service. You know, what are we being asked to do? And what is Greg's opinion on whether or not we can reasonably satisfy that request? And if it's something that we can do, I think we should make every effort to do so. But if it's just, you know, out of the, you know, too much with the current staffing issue, then I guess we're sunk. But maybe, I don't know the degree to which Allie has laid out for Greg what she's after, or maybe we should hear from her and then get Greg's reaction and then talk about it. I don't know.
Let's start with Greg and then we'll go to Ally. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay. So we met with Ally in November, like November 17th, I think, and it sounds to me like the service we would provide for Wings Over Wausau and the Chalk Fest would be very similar to what we've provided for the Balloon Rally, Rib Fest, and Chalk Fest in the past. In the past, we have provided, the biggest struggle for us has been the fireworks part. The fact that that's the big draw, everyone stays till the end, and that everyone leaves at the same time. And we've dedicated up to 7 buses for the departure after those events. Plus, we've added several administrative staff to help with the loading because of our concern with folks with disabilities not being able to load. And so it is quite an endeavor. And I am very concerned that we don't have the wherewithal at this point to provide certainly that level of service. We cannot do. As was stated previously, we are forcing people to work on a daily basis. And, you know, these extra events are on top of, you know, what we're already doing. There are events, for instance, the Art Fest, where the window of our service is fairly short, you know, it's 10 to 4:30 or whatever. And those are within the realm of possibility. But some of the longer events, like this one goes until 11:30 or so, that's a big ask when we don't have enough labor to start with. The other request from Wausau area events is the Blues Fall, well, that's a hard one. Bull Falls Blues Fest. That's a new one. It appears as though it's a smaller event in terms of participation. Unlike the other events that we serve that are available to the broader community, this one is more, I view it as adult-oriented. And the service we would provide is more of a hotel shuttle. And so instead of being available really to anybody who participates in the events, it's really geared toward the folks who are staying at those select hotels. And so I view that as very much different from what, we've done in the past. The FTA requires that all of our services be open and available to the general public, and I frankly struggle with the nature of that service, and I question whether we have a role to play in that. I would suggest that we do not.
This is Kathy. I'm a bus rider. I use it all the time. And I'm really worried about the morale. If we add the stress, other extra events on the drivers, and if we will lose more drivers. Even though I use the service to go to them events, I'm concerned. That's all I gotta say. And I appreciate everything Metrorite does and help the community, and I'm just concerned. That's all. I don't want to lose the service we have by losing more drivers. Possible.
Okay, Ally has her hand up. We'll go with her next.
Hi guys, I'm Allie. I'm the executive director for Wausau Events. I haven't had a chance to meet a lot of you yet. I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about these events. So I just wanted to state that we were not given a deadline for the request, so that's why these requests were not given to you guys before your budget was approved, because we were not alerted of a budget deadline for that. If we were, these requests definitely would have been submitted on time for that proposal. So I would request that for next year that would be something that would be made public for event organizers, if that is something that you guys are going to consider providing. We have worked with you guys in the past. I know that when Greg came into the office, we talked about that and how that works. We completely understand the staffing shortage over here. It's just a little hard for us to understand the event selection process and how you guys go ahead choosing those events. We know you guys provide service obviously for 2 other organizations in our area. So that's just a little difficult for us on this end of things. I would say Wings Over Wausau is very comparable. Greg's absolutely correct to previous balloon rally shuttle services needed. That does help the congestion that happens in the southeast side neighborhood by having those shuttles, so people are able to park in other locations and get to the event. It limits the amount of cars that we have on the streets over there, and then also helps us limit the amount of streets that we have to have parking on only one side, that kind of thing. If there is a shuttle, we would make sure that you guys have a proper route. We would work with you ahead of time, all that stuff to ensure that would happen. For Blues Fest, that is not a new event. That event has been happening now for 31 years over at Fern Island in Wausau. It is an event that is geared towards adults. However, anyone from the public, there is a free pass for Friday, so anytime Friday, anybody from the public can come join the event. In the past, the shuttle has been towards hotels. I know that this year is probably not something you guys are considering, but in the future, that would be one we would want to discuss possibilities about with you. I know, again, staffing is a concern. For Wings Over Wausau, I do not see us needing 6 to 7 buses. I would probably see us needing like 3 or 4 at the max. Just because that event, it's a new event, even though it is a lot like the previous events. And yes, we'll have a lot of people there for the fireworks. But we did hold fireworks this past September. We had 2 shuttle buses, and that ended up being fine. And those were through First Student. So I just kind of wanted to give that up to you. It is obviously the weekend before 4th of July, so I'm sure we will have a lot of people come out. It's a new event, so we haven't been able to count the number of attendees at that event. But I appreciate being recognized, and definitely we appreciate your consideration. So I'm here too for any questions if anybody would have any.
Okay, thank you.
Can I address the application?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Greg.
Ally, we really don't have an application process. Special events are kind of a rarity for us. Since we can only do these if we offer them free of charge, obviously we try to limit them. So we don't have an application process. If the organizers of an event, a major event, come to us, we will certainly take a look at it. But, there are no deadlines, if it works, it works. And that's how we got involved in events in the past. So there is no standing invitation to submit requests for service. We really do want to, limit our role and only serve the very largest community events. I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, we do. We just, again, like with both of these events, they are geared towards larger populations, with Wings Over Wausau having, anywhere from 20 to 40,000 attendees expected. So, that one for sure, I would definitely see falling in your realm of things. I completely agree with you that Blues Fest is probably not. And I also appreciate your application concerns, is obviously I'm new, so I'm still learning processes. I haven't been here a full year yet, so I appreciate that, Greg.
I also wanted to say, we didn't anticipate the Chalk Fest and Wings Over Wausau because it didn't exist previously. We put in the budget a couple other events that we've done previously because we thought they may come forward and put in a request, so we tried to anticipate. But the balloon rally ended up in Stettin, and although the Chalk Fest still exists, we didn't anticipate that there would be a shuttle component to that, so we didn't budget it. I think Sarah hand up again.
Does anybody, hang on, Alder Peckham?
Ally had her hand up, and I thought it best to complete that exchange.
Okay, let me go to Jen Bizzuto first, and then I'll go. Go ahead, Jen.
Thank you. I'm sorry, so are we needing to make a decision on these events now, or if not, when will those decisions need to be made?
That's kind
I
of the
think
question.
That's really a question for the event organizer.
Oh, yeah, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know if we're ready to make a decision right now due to staffing. Is that correct, Greg? I guess that's what I'm hearing, is that we don't know. We're
Well-
27% down now.
Yeah. Well, one of my bullet points here is that our hiring challenges predate the pandemic. And so if there's any thought that we're going to somehow solve this or it's going to get significantly better by the time these events roll around, I wouldn't hold my breath. This is going to be a continuing problem in my estimation. In terms of events that we could approve or take action on now, the Blues Fest is one that I think just the nature of the event, and I would oppose that. Just because of the nature of the event. It's really got, staffing really didn't enter into my calculus on that one. The Wings Over Wausau Chalk Fest, yes, that's a staffing problem. And again, I think that'll be a problem in June. Outrageous Weekend, that is a smaller event in terms of our role, in terms of, what they're looking for. That may be possible in the fall.
Greg, do you think we make any decision now, or do we hold off? I guess I don't know what you would like.
I guess it's up to the event organizers whether or not they need a decision now. Do they want to wait a while? If they're looking for a decision now, then we should make one.
Okay. Pat, do you have your hand up?
I'd still yield to Ally. She has
Okay.
more to say before I
Okay.
go.
Ally?
I would just ask that if a decision is made, for this, that it is made sooner rather than later, just because if we are not able to get this service through you, it's a service that we do need to provide to our event attendees. So then we need to consider other options and move forward with other options. So I would just ask that if a decision could be made, like I said, sooner rather than later. It doesn't necessarily have to be tonight, but I mean, probably by the end of February at the absolute latest for us. And then just considering, like I said, like Wings Over Wausau, I again don't think that you would need 6 to 7 buses. I think you'd get away with just a couple of them. It does help congestion in the neighborhood, and that is the complaint that we've gotten from some of that neighborhood, to help with that congestion so then people can park downtown or what have you. We did also move away from the July weekend that Balloon Fest used to be on with Chalk Fest combined, because there's already so much happening that weekend, and there's a lot of congestion with other stuff happening throughout our own community and neighboring communities. So that's why the two have partnered and moved. I apologize that that's not something that you guys knew again ahead of time. But again, we're willing to work on you guys or with you guys and figure that out as we move forward. So thank you, Pat.
Thank you. Okay, Pat?
Now I go?
Yep.
Okay. One of the things that Greg didn't mention is that as a public entity, government supported, Metro Ride is not supposed to compete for a service that a private bus company would normally provide or be able to provide. And one of the reasons we're doing the public events that we are doing is because private companies don't have handicapped accessible vehicles and stuff like that. So I think that caveat or clause in our operations where we are not allowed to compete for a business that a private company would be able to provide, I think that puts us out of the Bull Falls service, or we would be going from an event to private businesses. So I think my motion, I'll make it at the end, but my motion is going to be that we not do that one. But I think I was very glad to hear that we could, I think we are a community asset, and I think it's important for us to do what we can. And so I think, I guess my motion would be to skip the Bull Falls event and suggest that they contract with private providers, but that we, and you can talk in a minute, Ellie, but then pledge to provide 3 buses for the Wings Over Wausau event. And I think that would, I was a little scary when Greg was speaking to think of doing 6 or 7 again. That's too much. I don't think we can handle that. I think we can handle 3 buses, the once-a-year event, and my motion would be skip Bull Falls, but do 3 for Wings Over Wausau.
That's what you need to. Okay, so if I understand your motion, it is to do shuttle service for Wings Over Wausau, and you said up to 3 buses?
Yes.
But, and then to deny shuttle service for Bull Falls Blues Fest. Ooh, I did it. Is that your motion?
I think we could word it that we would, provide up to 3. And, if we can't do 3, then, let's go for 3.
Okay, do we have I see Jen has her hand up again, so, Do you want to speak before, do we have a second to that? We won't vote right away. I want everybody to speak. Okay, I'm going to ask Jen, you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you. Can I ask how did we calculate the estimated attendance for the Bull Falls event? Is my first question. I mean, my thought is that a lot of people are, or some people are self-selecting not to go to as many events like this because of COVID. So I'm just curious to see how we know we're expecting that many people. And then second, if we were to decrease the amount of buses that we made available for that event, would that be feasible? Or is it like, if you're going to provide a shuttle, you need to meet all of the needs sort of thing? Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a great question. I just spoke to Greg about that, and he's going to answer. Thank you.
Which event are you talking about?
Any of them, that how
Okay.
can, you know, because I'm sorry, because we talked about the motion of up to 3. Are we able to do that and leave people standing, or if you provide a shuttle? So I think that's kind of what she's getting at.
Well, I don't think any of us knows with a new event, you know, what sort of participation we're going to get. My assumption is that the big draw will be the fireworks show.
Yeah.
That's traditionally been the big draw, and that will be the biggest challenge. And I would guess that 3 is not going to be enough buses, and we're going to, the reason we provide so much capacity all at one time is because once you leave, you can't get back. Traffic is bumper to bumper. It takes a while to even get out to Grand Avenue and then get back to downtown, but then to get back into the neighborhood is another challenge. And so that round trip, initially when we started doing this, was a real problem. People stood and stood for a long time. And we had people in wheelchairs and, you know, had a hard time standing for that period of time. And so we magnified the capacity. And so the last year we did this, I think was 2019, and we added 7 buses. And it worked pretty well. But again, we had to sort through, we had supervisors there, making sure we got people with disabilities on first. My fear in just picking a number of, you know, no more than 3 buses is that if we don't have enough capacity, we're going to get a black eye. And I just assume provide adequate service or not provide service. But again, if you want us to serve it with 3 vehicles, you know, we'll do our best. In terms of the Blues Fest, the estimate I got on participation was from Ally. And in terms of that service, frankly, my staff and I struggled finding a route that would work. Our preference is to serve people on the correct side of the street, and with a large vehicle, it's hard to position it on the correct side of the street because you get to places where you can't turn around. And so we see some challenges with that. We thought perhaps smaller buses for that event, but our small buses are designed for paratransit, and half the bus has no seats because it's reserved for wheelchairs. And so there are only 8 seats in our small buses, and we don't think those are enough. But in terms of my opposition to the Blues Fest, it is philosophical. It has to do with the type of service we're providing and the fact that it's really it's limited to the folks who go to those select hotels, and it's not a general public service.
Did that answer your question, Jen?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Anybody else have any concerns or questions or a second to that motion? Alder Ryan, I saw you pop in and then pop out. Did you have a question? Oh, no, she's not here. Okay, I'm going to ask for a second. I'll restate the Alder Peckham's motion again, is to provide up to 3 buses to the Wings Over Wausau / Chalk Fest, and then to not provide shuttle service for the Bull Falls Blues Fest. And we're still looking for a second. Seeing none, that dies. Anybody else have any motions they want on this item, or do we table it till next, we can table it till next month? Go ahead, Pat.
Maybe I gave too big a chunk to swallow there. Want to take it a piece at a time. I've moved that we decline to be involved in the Bull Falls Blues Fest event.
Okay. We have the motion to decline being involved in the Big Bull Falls Blues Fest. Do we have a second?
Second by Kathy.
We have a second. Any questions or concerns?
Sorry, I would just like to clarify, I guess, that.
Go ahead.
So I think Ellie said that they would need to know by the end of February at the latest. Are we scheduled to have a meeting next month?
We normally do have, it's on the calendar.
Okay, I guess I just would like to say that I don't see the harm in waiting. Obviously, we want to make decisions sooner, but if the answer is going to be no, I feel like a no now, who knows, maybe, I know the state is moving to lessen the requirements needed for bus drivers and maybe the labor market will improve. Maybe we'll be able to find bus drivers. I think a no in a month will be as equal a no now, and maybe something will happen in between now and then that would increase our options. So I just like to say this is a decision I'm comfortable putting off. So that would be my vote.
Just to clarify, the changes the state is making doesn't affect our drivers. It's for school bus only.
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Okay. We will go back to the first motion since we have it, and that is just concerning the Bull Falls Blues Fest, and that is to decline that service. I will start with roll call. Kathy Zorn? You would vote aye to decline the service? Or no to not decline the service? That's the vote.
No to, I want to decline that.
Then it would be an aye.
Aye, sorry.
That's okay. Always ask for that. Okay. Jen?
Nay.
Okay. Alder Peckham?
Aye.
And I'm aye as well. That passes 3 to 1.
Right.
And Alder Ryan, I don't see her on here anymore. I don't know, and we couldn't hear her. So we are back to the
Just
top.
raised her hand.
Are you there, Alder Ryan?
She's muted, but she raised her hand. Oh, there she is.
She's not muted on our end. I can see her green.
Oh,
Now she
no,
muted
she's
herself
not.
again.
Having a tough time.
Alder Ryan, can you hear us? We can't
I
hear.
know that we said that in the chat for publicity purposes, but just so that we know what's going on, she said, I vote no. I tried unmuting, but kept on muting me. So I think
Yeah.
they're just issues that are
Yeah,
ongoing.
it's her. I don't understand why it's keep muting her. That did, Alder Ryan, we're going to have to try to get you some help. Can you call in? Use the number and use your phone. Okay,
She just sent a group message that she votes yes.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know if I can, I don't see the chat, and I don't know, I don't have a parliamentarian here to see if that's okay with chat,
You'd
so,
be able- well,
yeah, I
wait.
don't know. So it's 3 to 1 to decline, that vote is done. The next is, do you want to speak to the Chalk Fest Wings Over Wausau anymore? Do you want to table it till February? Would be the third Thursday in February, correct, Greg?
Correct.
That would be our next meeting. It's going to be close for them, but if that's what the committee would like to do to get, and that would also give Wausau Area Events to think this through about how many participants and things. I think the more information, the better.
Becky,
Yes?
this is Kathy. I would like to have it on the agenda for February to revisit this with more information.
Okay.
Maybe things will change, I don't know.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion or questions on that, or we'll take a vote?
Ally had a comment on the table.
Go ahead, Ellie.
I was just gonna say if there's any other questions or information that's needed for next time that I can know in advance so I can have that prepared for the next meeting. That would be all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Alder Peckham,
I vote aye.
Jen Bizzotto,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
Alder Ryan, your thing popped up again. Can you hear, or can you say aye or no? And she's mute. I'm aye as well. That passes our 4-0 right now. And then we're back to discussion and possible action on the outrageous weekend. I guess Greg did follow that a bit, that it was a smaller event. Greg, what do what is your last words on that one?
Well, it is a more modest schedule compared to, say, the Monk Festival or the Wings Over Wausau. It doesn't go late in the evening. It's like 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. And we have been successful in getting volunteers for that event to drive, that we did last year when we initiated it. So I'm not opposed to serving that event.
Go ahead, Pat.
I would move that we agree to perform that service for Outrageous Weekend.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
Second by Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other questions or concerns?
I'm sorry, I missed that motion. Pat, would you mind restating?
Certainly, I'm sorry. It was a motion by Alder Peckham to provide service for the outrageous weekend, and it was second by Zorn.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, okay, Alder Peckham, we're voting.
Aye.
Okay, Kathy,
Aye.
Jen,
Aye.
and I'm aye as well, and that passes. Okay, well, we made it through that. Now, the last, discussion and possible action on Transit Equity Day resolution. And I will start this, and then I'll let Kathy speak up. Kathy Zorn came to us a number of weeks ago to Greg, the mayor, and me, asking if we would consider a Transit Equity Day resolution, and we made a couple passes at it. And this would be, if passes, or whatever it passes here, will go on to council to pass there as a resolution as well, celebrating Transit Equity Day. Kathy, do you have anything to add?
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Transit Equity Day is being recognized around the country because it's Rosa Parks' birthday, and it's about equity in transit, and some cities are doing things on the bus or things in the community, but I brought this to the Transit Commission because I'm on a group call with the CMRT, which is more responsible transit and transit equity people from around the country, and I just thought this would be a nice way to recognize transit in our community and the value of transit and the drivers and the service.
Thank you. I think you realize this came out in one form. I did talk to our city attorney's office, as we always do with resolutions there, and I made a couple of small edits. Does everybody have the edited version
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Kurt, I just wanted to make sure. And so, does anybody have any questions or any further edits, anything on that?
I like the first version. I don't know why that anybody would want to change it.
And I can answer part of that. The word equity, I don't have a problem with, but we have equal access right behind it. It wasn't, it was equity and sustainability, and then we're going to provide equal access. It didn't tell us what we were going to do. Up to you if you want to put it back in. The last one, to be it resolved, everybody wants to promote conditions for social and economic prosperity, but that is an action, be it resolved, how it was explained to me is an action type thing, and it's basically, how are we going to do that? We would love to, we didn't have any action items for promoting conditions for social and economic prosperity. If that's more aspirational in such a long term, it should have been in the whereases. Does that make sense? Because the city attorney came back and said, and so what are you doing to do that? What are your specific actions? You know, when somebody comes back, what are your specific actions on that? And we did not have any at this point. So that was the reasoning behind that.
I would move to approve a hybrid where we accept the last change and just end it, and I don't think it weakens the resolution to not say we're going to promote all that stuff. I think the original wording on the top part was better. So I would do a hybrid.
Okay, I'm not quite understanding. Which part are you going to change again?
There were two changes
Right.
made from version 1 to version 2. I would like to revert from the first version. Ditch the first change, but retain the second change.
Oh, so you would put equity back in?
Yes.
Okay, got it. That's, okay.
Just,
Transportation, nobody's going to have a hernia over the word equity.
No, that's fine. Now I got it. Okay. So,
just to let you know, this is a shorter version than what the governor promoted, which is okay with me.
yeah, I
The
did,
way to get awareness to transit
Right.
in this community is a good thing.
yeah, and I looked at the governor's thing today, Kathy, and it's pretty close to what we came up with. I was
Yeah,
pretty proud
yeah.
of that. Did you notice that? It looked pretty similar. So,
Yeah.
okay, so, go
Other
ahead.
people across the country are changing this resolution to fit their community, so,
Right, okay. So,
so just to let you know that.
right, thank you. So
I'm
what?
just glad you guys are considering it.
Oh, absolutely. So what we have is Alder Peckham has made a motion to amend the second version to include equity in the in the fourth whereas. So we have that motion, and would anybody like to second that motion to add the equity back into the fourth whereas? And the rest say the same. Go ahead.
Second.
Okay, I have a second by Bizzuto. Just a second. Deb, did you have can you hear us? Can you unmute her? No. Okay, you're unmuted. Okay. Don't touch anything and he'll unmute you.
No,
Can you?
I don't think I can.
If you hit her mute button?
Oh, sure enough.
Okay, go. Alder Ryan, speak. I think you're unmuted. I don't know. She's not. Okay, so she just can't hear us. So we have a motion on the floor to replace the word equity again in the fourth whereas. So I am going to call the roll. Kathy? Great.
Aye.
Jen?
Aye.
Alder Peckham?
Aye.
And I'm aye as well. And so we will go back, and now we are going to, The last motion is to approve the resolution with the amended version. Can I have a motion for that?
You got one.
Thank you, Pat. Second?
Second by Kathy.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go again. This is our last. Jen?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Kathy?
Aye.
And I'm aye as well, and that passes unanimously. Okay, the last thing we put, well, not the last, one to last, discussion and possible action on new business. I asked to put that on there as Alder Ryan wanted to speak to some things. And since she is not able to verbalize, we will put that on the next agenda. Does anybody else have anything? Otherwise, we'll wait till the next agenda. Okay, number 10, you want to do your transit director's report, Greg?
Sure. And again, this is just for communication only. Staffing, we've touched on this throughout the meeting. We are currently down 27% of our driver positions are vacant. That is, we should have 9 part-time drivers, and we currently have 2. Well, as of Monday, we'll have 2. So the struggle continues. We're not getting any applications. As far as my administrative staff, we just promoted one of my operations supervisors, Andy Clacius, to be our maintenance supervisor. Andy was the point person on our safety program, and so he's been shadowing the maintenance director for a number of months now, and so that's one of the challenges we've had, getting this safety plan to you in December, and why it's here in January instead. In terms of the bus procurement, I went out for bid or price quotes for bus line inspection services, and I chose a firm, the lowest priced firm. It's the same firm that did our bus line inspection in 2011 for the last bus order. What they do is they manage quality control. They follow each bus while it's on the line, inspect it at every phase. We get pictures and written reports about status, about things that are that they've pointed out that need to be fixed. So far it's going pretty smoothly. We did discover this week when they sent pictures that they were using the wrong logo. They had an old logo file that is no longer current, so we got that fixed. But all in all, it's going well. We also went out to bid for disposal of the buses. The buses are being funded by a VW grant, VW settlement grant with the state of Wisconsin. And we have to dispose of these vehicles in a particular way, and we have to document how we do it. So we need various pictures before they go to be scrapped, and then they have to cut the frame in a couple places. They have to disable the engine in a specific way, so we need pictures before and after. And so, we've been busy on this project. I've got all the files sprawled all on my table, and it will come to an end around the 1st of February when buses start rolling into town. So it's going well. Any questions?
Jen, you have your hand up. Is that from before?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay. If there's no other questions, let's take a motion to adjourn. We're all ready, right?
Motion adjourned.
Thank you. Second?
Second by Kathy.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. And I know we had technical difficulties getting back to WebEx. Thank you so much for your patience. Have a nice night. Bye-bye.